Hello everyone, welcome back to Nasedyanka, the channel where I talk about Bulgarian culture, history, traditions and faith. So I will continue today with discussing with you the embroideries of Bulgarian clothes, which we call nusiyas. I will continue with the symbols as I took notes in my magic book from an article which I'm sharing with you guys, just to make it all as organized as possible, as easy to share as possible, because the symbols of our embroidery are so ancient and so rich, it's pretty hard to put them together in one nutshell, right? Let alone a video or something like that. So, last time in the previous part, we talked about the geometrical figures, the animal symbols that are present in our embroideries, as well as the plants. We talked about the palmetto or three-leaf palm symbol, the tree of life, and some more things. If you guys are interested, you can refer to the previous episode. I am going to include that in the descriptions as well, just for the sake of reference. In this part, we're going to talk about the solar symbols, as well as the cross and some other things that I've written here. So I'll just start. Okay, so far, as I have mentioned, the embroidery in Bulgaria is rich. It dates from thousands and thousands of years ago. It comes from our ancestors. And basically, the embroidery is a type of scripture, a type of symbolism that not only portrays the person who wears the clothes, spirituality, beliefs, but also their background and a lot many more details. That's why many people will call the Bulgarian clothing or nusia a passport. It's some kind of representation of our own identity and nationality. But it goes a lot more deeper, as it encompasses the dimensions of not only the physical realm of our life, but also spirituality, emotionality, social life, mental life, and so forth. Okay, let's talk about these solar symbols. This is an extremely important symbol in our culture, and it was important to our Bulgarian ancestors. They deeply believed that, how can I say, it was deeply believed that if it was placed on near the bosom of a person, or maybe on the head coverings, on other ornaments like jewelry or other types of decoration, that then the symbols would bring a sense of safety, protection, especially from, our ancestors would say, from evil eyes and diseases. Now, as I've mentioned before, I do not subscribe to superstitions, but when I think about the depth of the symbolism of the sun energy, it literally heals. It is the sun that can calm our nervous system. So, as a mental health practitioner, I have studied that when people spend time in nature, especially they are being, bashed by the sunlight, the nervous system naturally calms down. Also, I know that vitamin D that is crucial to for us. It can only be absorbed by the body when we're exposed to sunlight. Just taking vitamin D supplements does not work. You can check this out with people who are more professional in that area of research. That's what I've read and researched more in depth about. Also, acupuncture and Chinese medicine will talk a lot about the human energy system, the nervous system, the subtle energies within our body, and they will also address the sunlight or the solar kind of like energy system. So I just wanted to throw these out there to let you know that this is not just a system of belief. It is backed with sciences such as Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, such as homeopathic remedies and perspectives, holistic and alternative methods of healing, supplements, herbal remedies, and also allopathic, because it is the allopathic realm in the West where I have studied about the nervous system. And again, all of these elements, they do affect our nervous system. So feel free to explore those on your own. The cross is also a commonly seen symbol. There are little crosses that are formed on this one. There are bigger crosses actually on that shirt there. Let's see that one. Oops. There's a cross over here. Of course, the same one over here. There's a different kind of a cross here, and I will talk about it here in a little bit. But this is so far what I have in my collection. Well, at least the clothes that I was able to bring on the road with me. I've mentioned in the previous few videos that I am on the road. I am still on the road, so I am a traveler. So the cross, in general, for Bulgarians, for us, this is the symbol of God. In ancient times, this was an element that was used against misfortunes and mishaps. So our Bulgarian ancestors revered the cross themselves. So since the introduction and the acceptance of Christianity in our lands, it was easily taken as the symbol of God. I do want to remind you that our ancestors pretty easily, they were kind of prepared to recognize the fullness of the faith in the Orthodox Christian religion. And this I have mentioned in other videos. I will continue to talk about it. It was ingrained, or how can I say, intertwined and braided within their grasp, knowledge, and understanding of human existence, of science, of life and the cycles of life, and so forth. So another symbol that we encounter is called the Elbetitsa. You guys might recognize that in the English language as spelled as Elbetitsa. Honestly, I don't know much of how it's written in English. That's really how I am transliterating it. We pronounce it as Elbetitsa. So this is, in other words, the double cross, and that's what I just showed you earlier, and I said we'll talk about it in a little bit. This interesting element basically comes from the ancient Becht, which in translation means the 8 cycles of nature. Those include winter, north, summer, south, spring, east, I can't count my fingers here, and autumn, west. So we have 8 cycles of nature that our ancestors were familiar with, recognized, and they were basing a lot of their science around. It is a modified rosette representing a double star, or a 2 crossed together cross. How can I say? 2 crosses that are crossing together. So you may see this cross, and then you can see a cross around it that goes that way. That's again what we have here. Let me show it to you once again. But remember that this dress, well, if you've seen the previous episode, you might know that. You might have heard it from earlier. This dress was machine made. It's more of a modern representation of the Bulgarian attires. Of course, Bulgarians continue to produce clothes. They're not necessarily handmade at all times. They're handmade, but not using the machine, sewing machine. So here's how they have embroidered it. You can see the straight cross, but then there is another cross at the figure X. So when we turn it that way, I can't see. You can see it that way. It's basically supposed to be 2 crosses crossing over each other. Okay. Let's see what else I can share here. In ancient times, our ancestors, the Bulgarians, used to honor the sun as the source of life. And in Christianity, the Son of God has been associated. I really don't ascribe necessarily to, connecting paganism with Christianity. But again, the way I perceive that is that our ancestors were basically prepared, knowledge wise, skill wise, science wise, to recognize Christianity. Okay, so the same symbol, Elbetitsa, is associated with blessings of health, prosperity, harmony. It's also found in the title Bagatur, which is common for Bulgarians, which also means strength and power. It's also associated with, now some will say the mother goddess. I, again, am not a big believer in that kind of superstition. This is more of the feminine archetype from mental health perspective, which represents the feminine capacity, nature. So it's mainly seen on female clothes for that reason, and it is associated with good health. Just a side note also, as I was reflecting on this earlier, the sun and the seasons, they are a source of life on our planet. So pretty much this is what these symbols again would relate to. So here's another symbol. That's the swastika or swastika. Now the way we call it is suvastika, Suvastika. You guys would say swastika in English. Unfortunately, this is one of the most recognizable familiar symbols in the West or in the world nowadays. But the bad thing is it's associated with negative stuff. Nonetheless, in Bulgarian ancestry, in Bulgarian culture, we actually know that in fact it carries an extremely positive in its origins symbolism and meaning. It is actually originally it's been associated with fruitfulness. Again, this word is the tricky word, fruitfulness and fertility. There is no direct words to translate in English. Плодородие literally means to give birth to fruit. So if you have good creative ideas, you're being fruitful. If you carry out good, positive, healthy consequences to your actions, that's an example of being fruitful. So this is what swastika represents and is associated with. The swastika symbol also is associated with the complete, how can I say, stylized combination of movement and rest. In other words, we say savarsheno. This is the complete, perfected, brought to perfection, completion, combination or union of that force in nature which is movement and that force in nature which is no movement or rest. So when you unite movement plus rest, or when you unite movement and unmovement, you can receive at the same time opposites connected, united. And so it symbolizes the union of opposites. Other examples of that would be male and female beginning, day and night. Also, I know from dialectical behavior therapy, we'll talk about wise mind and how wise mind is the balance between reasonable mind and emotion mind, or how emotion-wise two things can exist, two things that appear to be opposite, they can exist together. So mental health is pretty well familiar nowadays with that. And again, just to bring to your attention, that would be an example of the swastika symbol according to our Bulgarian ancestors. And you will see the swastika on our embroideries on our clothes. There are two varieties that are distinguished in that symbol of the swastika. The first one is the notorious swastika, where the corners or the edges of the bent cross will bend clockwise. I don't know the camera which way it shows clockwise, right? And the second example, the second variation, is when the swastika's corners are actually bent counterclockwise. So let's move on. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about the family symbols. As mentioned before, time and again, the Bulgarian clothes can tell you a lot about our family connections and family backgrounds, background legacy, and genogram. And this channel, again, has nothing to do with my job, so it's disconnected. It's just a pure hobby. But I don't mind disclosing that I have studied, and my degree, part of my mental health degree, is in family therapy. So I am glad that I actually encountered in the education system in the West that people are, at least they're familiar with family genograms, and that excites me and brings me a sense of inspiration that I was able to kind of like full circle round, connect with my culture, and also enrich my mental health, professional background with the knowledge that my ancestors have already brought. I was able to bridge this, and I continue to find connecting pieces there, which is just exciting that this is talked of more and more. So let's talk about the family symbols. So those occupy an important role in the Bulgarian people's everyday life. They're mainly related to the continuation of the family lineage and kinship. We call that rod, srodяване, which basically rod is kinship. Srodяване is the union between the kins, the kinship. So union between the family lines. When two families get together, that's called srodяване, right? So those symbols, the family symbols, symbolize or they're being used in, how can I say, those symbols are being used in ceremonies of engagements, weddings, betrothals, as well as the harmony, how can I say, they basically are used to represent the harmony, the union, and the balance of the family, the Bulgarian family. So one of those we call is the makaz. So it is the main one that's used among those types of embroideries. It serves as the basis for the follow-up embroideries. It comes in the form of two triangles which form a rhombus shape, so that they represent the engagement and the connection between two families. So when you take two triangles, you connect them and you embroider that, you're saying that you are connecting two families. Here you can witness and coded the idea of harmony and balance. So this refers not only to the earthly plane and dimension, like I've mentioned before, dimension of our existence, but also the balance between the divine and earthly nature, as well as the masculine and feminine nature or forces. There is another variety of the makaz symbol, and we call it the big makaz. It represents the next stage after engagement or betrothal, which is basically the wedding. So the first stage, you connect to triangle, that's when two people are getting engaged or betrothed to one another. The second stage is when they're getting married. So in the second stage, the big makaz, the tips of the triangles not only touch, but they are here also at least braided together, like intertwined. So another symbol is the kanatica. This is a common symbol of family. It represents an upgraded makaz, evolved, right? At the step further, this basically would look like you're adding two smaller triangles that are symmetrically opposite. They're symmetrical to one another on both sides of the makaz, so as to symbolize the appearance of children. So first you have two triangles that are touching. Second stage is when they are intertwined into each other, and the third stage is when you're adding little triangles on both sides. These are the children, and these are Again, you're adding two smaller triangles, right? No more than that. Why? Because we're going to continue to evolve the family line here in a moment. So the creation of a family and the continuation of the family line through a new generation is among the most precious values for a human. And we Bulgarians recognize that. So this is precisely what you may witness is being embedded here in the embroidery of the Kanatica symbol. Now, I should make a side note. I'm aware that not everybody has children, not everybody can have children, not everybody is suitable for children, not everybody wants to have children. So all that being said, that's okay. That's completely fine. As a matter of fact, in Orthodox Christianity, we recognize that many people are, not suited or not created to bear children. And again, many people cannot have their own children, and that's okay. The purpose of life is salvation. It's not to have kids. And I'm saying that because many people in the West, unfortunately, have used this idea as if procreation is the most important thing and we have to pass down the family legacy or the family riches and just live to make meaning in that way. That's not at all how we view it. However, children are a blessing, a huge blessing. And we actually in Bulgaria will say that children are little cherubs, or like little angels in the family house. But people have to be prepared, evolved. They have to be ready to take care of kids. It's pretty cold in here, but I will finish this here in a little bit. So in the future, or how can I say later on, subsequently, grandchildren appear naturally. So in the case of Bulgarian embroidery, you will notice that another pair of triangles soon will be added. So you will be able to recognize what we actually call the big Kanatica or Gulamata Kanatica. So if we add more triangles, two more, you get to the big Kanatica. After that one comes the so-called Great Kanatica, which actually represents the growth of the family genealogy or the family line. So here, the composition of triangles will triple. So in the big Kanatica, the triangles double. In the Great Kanatica, it triples, right? And this fascinates me again and again as a family therapist. This is how, at the very basis, I am taught to, obtain information and work with, my clients using family genogram. Well, this is also in Bulgarian clothes, and it's been used for thousands of years. It's just fascinating. Okay, I'll move on. The next symbol is called the babica, which actually in English translates as the grandmother. It's a derivative of the makaz figure, but in this case, the bottom of the triangles, the bases of the triangles, will touch each other by forming a rhombus geometrical figure. So notice here how we in Bulgaria honor the personhood of a woman and of a man across the life stages. We recognize that we don't have to stay forever young. We can retain our youth at every single stage, whether a person is a child or then they become a young teenager, young adult, middle adulthood, and late adulthood. There are stages, and there is beauty and wisdom at each level of those stages. So in this case, the grandmother is symbolized by two triangles that are touching each other at the bases so that they form the figure of a rhombus. Again, here on both sides, there are added two smaller triangles in order to symbolize the marriage of the families or the connection between two family lines. Aside from the grandmother, we have the great-grandmother symbol, and this is even more enriched, showing that the family lines, the different kins, are now united into tribes. So we are expanding the social status, the social role, so as to include now the tribe, the community. And I will end it here with the colors, last though not least, before I wrap it up for today. At the end of the video, I will include the pictures so that you guys can look at them. I'll put the pictures and the of those symbols so that you can connect. So feel free to spend a few extra minutes for those. So here is this last piece of information that I'll leave you with. The colors are also symbolic in our culture. The main colors that you may see on our clothes are red, green, white, blue, yellow, and black and brown. Now, I have seen clothes in purple. Those would probably fall in the category of blue, but I do have to say that purple was a very difficult color to obtain. So I've seen that people who were not able to afford it simply could not wear purple, right? Now, whether that's because we have suffered so many centuries of wars and invasions, that may be the case. Maybe the earlier Bulgarians definitely, had purple, access to the color purple. But here's what I have. Red is one of the royal colors. It's considered a royal color. It has retained its importance to the present day. As a matter of fact, the brides would wear a red head covering. Babies, newborn babies, would be wrapped in red blankets, or what do you call it? Like red cloth, basically, because the color red represents blood. It is a symbol of blood. And when you think of blood, that's life and death. So whenever people would go to war, they would associate the color red with war, with blood, because blood is being shed at war. But also giving birth, there is blood that runs, from the mother's body and the baby. There is blood when we create life. There is blood, there's blood. So it's red. That's basic. Green is the color of Mother Nature, new life, new beginnings, and the tree of life. Now, when I say Mother Nature, I do want to emphasize that we don't look at Mother Nature as some kind of deity or some kind of an entity. We call our country motherland. We call Bulgaria our mother. We have tons of songs that sing and commemorate our mother because our country has given birth to us in that way. But what's peculiar about Bulgarians is that our folklore is rich in symbolism, and our folk tales will use a lot of imagery in that manner. It doesn't mean that rocks can talk and we believe that there's some kind of gods. Not at all. It doesn't mean that we believe that earth is some kind of a goddess. Not at all. But we call her mother because we were nourished with her fruits. And this is peculiar because there have been a lot of questions trying to, provoke some kind of disputes about paganism. Well, we're not at all practicing paganism, and I say this mindfully. I've mentioned in previous videos reasons why, and I would be happy to make more videos in the future when I have the time. The color white is associated with purity, youth, and innocence. The color blue we associate with angels, heaven, the sea, the water, truth, trust, loyalty, like we say doverie, purity, peace, calm, but also contemplation. And contemplation, I don't know how to translate in English in any other way than contemplation. Sozercanie, it's when we are bringing our inner awareness, and we are fully aware in the all present moment. Yellow is the color of gold, also the sun, the source of joy, happiness, fire, and flame, also light. Now, yellow is also associated with the afterlife, or I don't want to say afterlife because it's not like suddenly after this life there is another life, but it's the life we say odvodnoto. It means beyond what we can perceive right here, right now. So that afterlife is actually right here, right now, but we just can't see all of the forces. And yes, there is an afterlife as far as our own existence is concerned. But it's far more complicated than what I've encountered by modern kind of shallow explanations. So the afterlife and our departed loved ones are associated with the color yellow. So, practically, not everybody is familiar with this. A lot of the lore there have been attempts to lose that. And again, there are so many people who are resurrecting this information, making it more and more popular. But I can imagine, a Bulgarian woman wearing her yellow dress, for example, when we're commemorating our departed ones in the Orthodox Christian Church, um, and or bringing a yellow handkerchief or a yellow towel, something like that. Our candles are made of beeswax, and that's yellow. So when you think of gold, and I know from ancient cultures, for example, there has been much written on the alchemical mysteries. In reality, the change that happens after a fire burns metal, it's been used symbolically to again show this idea of metamorphosis, transformation. So all of these belong to the color yellow, and again, that's just a symbol. We're not making too much of it. If you don't wear a yellow, okay, big deal. Wear something else. It's not a big deal. But this is just part of our artistic, creative way of dancing with life, with God's creation, and finding meaning and finding harmony within nature, within God's creation again. And so last though not least is the color black/brown, because it's quite difficult actually to obtain a perfectly black color for garments, and that's okay, but both are associated with earth, again, Mother Earth, with stability, security, because why? Because we are grounded within earth, as well as fruitfulness, because why? Because earth is that entity in nature that provides nutrients for us to or for our plants and gardens to grow forth from, and the trees and the plants will bear forth veggies, fruits, so we can actually get nurtured by that. So in that way, this earth is nurturing us. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. It is very, very cold. I am feeling definitely challenged by the weather, and I'm wishing that I would have worn a scarf at this point. My fingers are pretty cold. And it's okay, because I've noticed that, working at 24/7, it's not 24/7, 9 to 5, regular job in our modern Western world, it creates a lot of disconnect between nature, humanity, and and responsibilities. And as I have had my chores and my duties, I don't get to spend much time outdoors. So taking my trips every now and then has been rejuvenating and a source of inspiration. Spending a little bit of time outdoors in the backyard, in nature, has been wonderful, even though it's really chilly. Like we'll say, that chill bites. So I'm going to go back indoors and make myself a tea. The previous night, my dad treated me to a warm cup of tea with added little shot of cognac, which is a typical Bulgarian remedy, or just kind of like a self-care, remedy. Usually we would add alcohol, hard alcohol, which would be homemade, and my grandparents continue to make that traditionally in their house, in their vineyard, and I marvel at that. My hope is that one day my husband and I can produce that. Who knows, God willing. But yeah, it is a Bulgarian tradition to warm up the alcohol to a level of enough so that it not won't boil out. We don't want any fires, right? And I have witnessed that it's very easy to burn alcohol, clearly. And you burn just a little bit. You can mix it with lemon, with apple, with black pepper, and you can add hot pepper to it too. Honey as well for sweetness. And then you can drink the shot at once if you're having like swollen tonsils, if your throat is hurting. It has helped me in the past heal from bronchitis when my grandpa was trying to convince me to try, and I wasn't trusting him. But I tried it, and it did help me overnight. And but prophylactically, we'll just use that, or we just use that as to pour it in a, like I said, a cup of tea, and it's great for the chill. But you guys have, again, heads on your shoulders. Think, do your research, do whatever your heart mind is needing to, in order to learn and grow. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching my videos. I hope that this brought some smiles, as I usually hope. And with this, I'm going to wrap up here. And yeah, I'll see you soon. I hope the rest of your day and week goes well. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so if you're interested in receiving more videos like that. And if not, hey, that's completely okay. Don't torture yourselves, right? If you don't feel like this is your kind of alley, then don't torture yourselves. This is the whole beauty of the things. We all have free will, and we are responsible for what we choose for ourselves. With this, I hope that the rest of your week goes well. Thank you. Bye bye. Since I don't have Bulgarian rakia right away, right here, and my dad is sleeping, I'm going to use whiskey today. That's okay.